Coach, it's week 4. Basically, we've been through several games now. You faced some tough opponents. You've had some tough games. You've had some games where you've seen a lot of improvement, and you've seen some where you've been marching toward a goal each week, and each play you've seen some improvement on your players' side, and of course you've been fighting some giants, and sometimes it hadn't been coming out as well. But week 4 was a little different for you this time around, because it seemed like the harder you fought, the harder y'all tried. It just seemed like you couldn't really get anything going on either side of the ball for a while. It was just tough for you guys to do, and every team has a game like this. It just wasn't, and just even the pros and the college teams have a team where they could be rolling for weeks, and then all of a sudden the bottom falls out, and it just doesn't seem like they didn't make the improvements again this week that they were trying to make, and it just seems like everything just kind of unraveled on them. And it's a game where the harder it feels like level ground is almost like walking uphill, and you get into a game like that, and it could happen anytime during the playoffs or anywhere. But it seemed like that's the kind of week you had this week, against Bridge City, and we know New Bridge City was a good team, but even though there's still a part that you say, well, we're going to make improvements, and it just seemed like you had trouble getting there this time around. So
well, first thing, I give credit to Coach Stump and their staff over Bridge City. They're an excellent team. We knew that going in. Their offense is probably the best offense around, and their quarterback may be the best player in the area. But still, we were disappointed with our effort, and it starts with me as the head football coach, and we didn't play our best. And in the previous 3 games, we fought till the end. We started fighting first quarter, and we ended in the fourth quarter, and there were different lulls in each of those games, but we didn't start out very well at all against Bridge City, like you said, and we got in the hole 7-0. But we get the ball inside the 50, and then we called up a couple of plays, and one of them was going to be a touchdown. One of our touchdown plays, you draw them up against their defense, and sure enough, it was about to be a touchdown, but we had somebody jump off sides, and we tried to run it again and had another procedure penalty. So it was one of those nights. It was very frustrating in the beginning. But then our same offense, we take a 14-play drive right before halftime, and we're spreading the ball around and running it and throwing screens, and we look like a great offense, and we punched one in right before half. So there were a lot of good things, but definitely was not one of our top performances of the year.
It's after the game you told the team to keep their head up. It's not time to put your head down.
Right. We're still Coverville Wildcats. The band's going to play in our alma mater, and we're going to get over there, and we're going to hold our finger up in the air, and our number 1 finger, and we're going to look at them in the eyes and keep our head up and be proud of who we are and who we represent. And like I told our team after the game, it's not a good feeling at all, and nobody's enjoying it. But as goes life. There's a lot of things out there in the real world that are a lot harder to go through than losing a football game. But still, you have a football game to play, and you want to prepare for it, and you want to put out your best performance on Friday night. So with that in mind, it was a little disappointing.
Right. But after all that, you had a game. You had some kids that had some outstanding performances.
We did. Red Haywood, he started out in number 2. He was started out at running back, and then Cody Goins got hurt a little bit, so we put Red in at quarterback and put him in the shotgun a little bit. But his jersey got ripped, so you see a number 15 out there, and nobody knew who he was. Channel 4 was calling him Rodriguez. I'm sure all the fans and even our coaches in the press box were going, "Who's number 15?" That guy was all over the place. But he came in, and we sometimes put him at receiver and threw him the screen. Then he was at quarterback and ran the GT. But he gave it his all, just like he does every game. He's definitely one of our best players, and he's a junior. Will Tyler had a great game for us on offense. We used him a lot on offense at fullback, and he's a load to tackle, and we're going to continue to use him. He scored both our touchdowns. Red actually threw him a touchdown pass, and then Will scored on about a 4th and 1 on the goal line. And then Clayton Sexton, he really showed out on offense. He's always a good defensive player for us, but he ran a couple little reverses, and he was tough to tackle. So he was all over the place. And then our last guy that I always want to talk about is Jeremy Kennebrew, number 56. He has the most energy on our team. He practices game speed all the time, and it shows during the game. And he hates to lose, and he's always going to give it your all. You don't ever have to get on Jeremy Kennebrew to go hard, because he's always going to give everything he has.
So a lot of good little positive things that come out of that game that you can see, that you can build on and use toward going to next week's game, this week's game actually.
Right.
And we're going to take a break here and talk about the next game coming up for you on Friday night. It's Wills Point, and we'll be right back right after this message from our sponsors.
To tackle, and we're going to continue to use him. He scored both our touchdowns. Red actually threw him a touchdown pass, and then Will scored on about a 4th and 1 on the goal line. And then Clayton Sexton, he really showed out on offense. You know, he's always a good defensive player for us, but he ran a couple little reverses, and he was tough to tackle. So he was all over the place. And then our last guy that I always want to talk about is Jeremy Kennebrew, number 56. He has the most energy on our team. He practices game speed all the time, and it shows during the game, and he hates to lose, and he's always going to give it your all. You don't ever have to get on Jeremy Kennebrew to go hard, because he's always going to give everything he has.
So a lot of good little positive things that come out of that game that you can see, that you can build on and use toward going to next week's game, this week's game actually.
Right.
And we're going to take a break here and talk about the next game coming up for you on Friday night. It's Wills Point, and we'll be right back right after this message. Traveling again this week. It's been about 3 weeks in a row, or this will be your 3rd week to travel, and it'll be good to be getting back home week after next. But we got this week here, and you're going to be going to actually, this will be your longest trip of the regular season.
Yes.
Having to go up to Carthage, but you're not playing the Bulldogs. You're playing Wills Point.
Right. We're going to play Wills Point, and last year we played in Kilgore. And the reason we're playing Wills Point is we couldn't find anyone to schedule us, and they had an opening, and so Coach Alvarez called them last year, and that's why we're playing these guys. And they're 2-2, and they have a pretty stout defense. We are going to play in Carthage, and Carthage is a beautiful stadium, so if you get a chance to go up there, they just put down new turf last year, and it's going to be an exciting environment for our kids, and I'm glad our kids get to play in that type of environment, and you know, we're looking forward to it, and you know, we're getting better this week. Got a great week practice, great practice yesterday, so we'll see what happens.
And we talked earlier, and you were talking to me about, you know, going back to fundamentals, talking about, you know, refocusing. We see pro teams do that all the time. Sometimes they have to say, okay, we've got to stop and refocus, go back to what makes us great, and then things that we can control. And
right.
You said you were working on that this week as well.
Right. It doesn't matter what team I've coached. I've coached a lot of good teams and some great teams in Oklahoma, Missouri, and Texas, and then you hear NFL coaches, you hear college coaches all the time, middle of the season, regardless, they say, somebody's going to say, well, heck, we just need to get back to basics. And then I'm always thinking, well, why did we ever get away from basics? But you're right. We refocused on tackling, refocused our linemen on taking their first step and hand placement and coming off the football and ball handling and the quarterback center exchange. Make sure all that's right, and you know, getting the plays in on my end. And so we did have a couple of delays, so that, you know, that always goes on the offense coordinator, the head coach. So yeah, we are focusing on fundamentals this week, and hopefully it'll show on Friday night.
Right. And we you know, to just elaborate just a little bit on that, you know, we talked about the fact that, you know, little things open doors for big things.
Right.
And every play has a meaning, and every player has a move that has to be made. Now those split seconds between making that first step or not making that first step in the right direction can change whether a block is, or whether a tackle slipped, or whether it's blocked.
Right.
You know, and so those little things tend to, you get back to basics, refocus those ideals, and get them back to being sharp, then it's easier for your timing to get better, to go through a hole or the hole closes up. So you only have a split second to go through those things.
Right, that's true.
And you see teams do that all the time, and you'll see, you know, the best college teams go back and do that and reiterate all that. Two of the most important things to reinforce, you said, was attitude and effort.
Right.
What you told me.
Those are the two
night.
things you can control: your attitude and your effort. So that's what we're preaching to our kids about. It's easy right now to you know, to kind of shrink away, being in the position that we are, and kind of shrink away and let somebody else lead. But you know, the real guys, the real leaders, the real men on our team, they're going to stand up and take control. And guys like Will Tyler, he's definitely our best player. He's a senior football player, and you know, he's assumed some responsibility and leadership role this week. And you know, this is a situation. It's tough. It's tough on these kids that have won a lot of football games. It's tough on us coaches that have won a lot of football games to be in this position. But you know, you just keep doing what you're doing and focusing on the fundamentals like we just talked about, and then be prepared on Friday night and just give it your all. Have a great attitude. Doesn't matter how good the game's going or bad the game may be going, your attitude, you know, going to give 100%. You're going to lay it out there on the line.
You also you spoke of William Tyler. He's your only senior on the starting lineup, so it's you know, you've got a young team, and your underclassmen also played this last week, didn't they?
Yes, they did. Our freshmen won a football game. They beat Bridge City, and it was great to see. It was fun for those kids to win, and you know, we still believe that freshman group is a special group, and we're excited about when they become juniors and seniors and what they have. And I know our 8th grade class behind them is a very talented. And they also won the other night. Our JV, we had about 14 kids out there, and we fought them. It was 12-0 at halftime, and it kind of got away from us. I mean, they had us outnumbered, you know, 3-1. But our JV kids got a lot of experience the other night, and they were fighting and had a lot of successful moments during that game. So we're very proud of their performance.
Well, there's another Wildcat team that's tearing it up out there right now, and that's your volleyball. They're Lady Wildcats.
Oh, without question. I mean, 19-2. Coach Haynes' volleyball team, they're incredible. They won again last night. They beat Hemphill 3-1.
Wow.
But the real test starts this Saturday. We play Huntington. That opens up our district play, and it's at home, and it's going to be a noon game. So invite everybody to come out and watch our girls play. It's fun to watch them play because they play with good teamwork, and they support each other, and they're very excited. And you know, it's we have a special volleyball team.
This week's games with the freshmen and JV are going to be here. Is that where they're going? Or do you have?
Well, no, we're not going to play this week.
Okay.
We had Bean on the schedule, and they're like a lot of other teams that get some injuries and they have to call people up, and
right.
So they don't have a team. So what we are going to do, our kids are still going to compete. We're going to take our freshman team and our JV team. They're going to go off against each other, and then the remaining freshmen, we're going to square them off against each other. So there's going to be a lot of reps. It'll be right after school on Thursday. Mm-hmm. It's open to anybody to come see. It'll be a controlled scrimmage, but we're going to allow them to play and compete and let them have a little bit of fun.
That ought to be a lot of fun to watch, too.
Oh, yes, yeah.
This week's game, again, is Friday night at Carthage, and you're playing Wills Point.
Friday night, 7:30.
7:30?
Yes, sir, at Carthage. And if I could add,
yes, sir.
Our cross-country team did a very good job this past Saturday. It brought us Jacob Rowe, Jacob Randall, Bradley Bush. They all placed, and Coach Casson was very proud of them, and of course I'm proud of them also as being their athletic director.
That's awesome. Any final thoughts on this week's game?
We're excited for the opportunity. You know, we feel we have a great shot to win, and you know, we've really focused on the Kirbyville Wildcats this week, and it doesn't really matter who we're playing on Friday. We want to make sure that we are getting better each week, and I've challenged each of our players to do what they can at their position to make sure that they get better so it fits into the team scheme and how we're doing things. So when we play on Friday night, we can put out a product out there that we're proud of and give it 100% effort, and you know, hopefully the ball will bounce our way in certain areas of the game, and we'll come away with our first victory.
All right. Well, Coach, I appreciate you being here again this morning. That's going to do it for this week's edition of Wildcat Fever in the Morning. Appreciate Mike Lout back at the studio, Coach Denise for being here, Joey Davis for helping us set up every week, and we'll talk to you next week here on KJAS.
All right. Thank you.